The finals feel like.
Whatever it takes to win.
And we're down to the last two for the NBA title. Siakam has done it all tonight for Toronto. What a night for this young man. Pascal Siakam with a 32-point game in his first appearance in the NBA Finals.
So a variety of surprising ways we find ourselves at Raptors 1, Warriors nothing after one game of these NBA Finals with Pascal Siakam having one of the genuinely great finals games of all time. Kawhi Leonard somewhat quiet with 23 last night, and the Splash Brothers getting theirs and no one else from the Warriors really doing much. So with our group here, let's start looking ahead now and gauging expectations for Game 2. I want to start with something Stephen A. just said. And we actually heard Klay Thompson in the soundbite that we played right before Steve came on, suggesting we did a good job. This is him talking about their defense against Kawhi. It was everyone else that beat us. And Stephen A. was suggesting maybe you reverse the strategy going forward. What are you looking at?
I'm not into this strategy thing, right? Look, the Warriors, I say this. There is an effort that needs to be shown in the NBA Finals. It just wasn't there for them. You can talk about Kawhi and Pascal Siakam and what he did, and he won't do this again. So you might not want to change your defense because it worked, except for a guy was on fire. You just need to play a higher level of defense. We saw one of Pascal Siakam's layups. He just ran right by Klay. He was on the baseline and in the deep corner, and look at this one. Well, they were about to show up. But look, if you're just going to be that type of defensive team, the Warriors have been dominant because they are the best offensive team and one of the top 2 or 3, if not the best defensive team. They need to get back to just playing harder and more aggressive than everyone else.
If I'm Steve Kerr, there's no way in hell I'm changing up my strategy. Kawhi made 5 field goals last night, because of the strategy. So, all right, Spicy P, if this is who you are, be that way the next 6 games.
Yeah.
You want to average 35? If you're going to beat us, we'll take that chance. We'll take that chance. I mean, I think the strategy is correct. It's just a matter of whether Toronto can sustain that type of play, which a lot of people aren't sure of.
A lot of it is going to depend on the health of Andre Iguodala and maybe later Kevin Durant, because it's easy to say, we shouldn't send so much help at Kawhi Leonard. But if Klay Thompson has to be the primary guy guarding Kawhi Leonard, I think Kawhi will figure that matchup out and overpower him and be living in the paint and at the foul line, and you can't win like that. The reality is we talk about these as extremes. You either send help or you don't. The Warriors are the best team in the league, or to Richard's point, have been, at living in that in-between zone of helping but not helping too much, of helping but recovering, and they just have to be better at that.
Look, I'll say this. I picked Warriors in 6, so certainly Toronto winning Game 1 at home doesn't feel like a surprise. It plays into that narrative. But what I will admit to having sort of changed my view on watching the game last night was how much I think the Warriors need Kevin Durant. I was sitting here all week long saying they win this series even if Durant doesn't play at all. And last night shook my confidence in that. Does anyone else feel that way? Did that change anyone's mind? The way I saw the Raptors able to defend the Warriors, rusty or not, they need another scorer, I think, to win this series.
They do, to give themselves a little gap. But I look at a lot of those shots that Steph missed that would have rolled in. And then you, on the other side, you look at how many kind of in and outs that dropped for the Toronto Raptors, right? You had the Van Fleet 3, you had multiple shots by Siakam. So I think they just played great and they shot the ball well. I still think that the Warriors did enough on the offensive end. They scored 108 points. They just had 0 resistance on the defensive end. Now, this is what we're talking about. 0 resistance from the Golden State Warriors is not what we're accustomed to seeing, and we can give credit to the Toronto Raptors.
How do you explain that in the NBA Finals? Is that a function of having had 9 days off and you just can't have that sort of sharpness and focus?
I think it's rust. I also think it's the teams that they played against. I mean, the Houston Rockets don't play defense like that.
Yeah.
I mean, Portland doesn't play defense like that. And granted, they look great against Portland, but it's you saw Enes Kanter all the way down the screen. They had wide open shots. This is NBA Finals basketball. It takes a second to kind of get recalibrated to the physicality of the game.
Yeah. How about Van Vliet? This is a guy who I don't know that anyone had ever even heard of him, except that he has this somewhat unusual name as recently as 2 weeks ago. And all of a sudden, he has become, Zach Lowe, a really important piece of what they're doing on both ends of the floor.
Hold on. I think Fred VanVleet finished third in most improved player voting last year. He makes $9 million. He's a good player.
He did not have a great season. He did not build.
He took a little step back.
And again, Pascal Siakam, took a step up. But I think VanVleet, he just now showed up in this postseason. I think that's that's what Greeny's kind of bringing up.
Well, they had different
end
depth
of
too,
the
because they had
Bucks
OG Anunoby as well, who got hurt too, who was really coming along. So this team has always had depth, but I would agree with you on Fred VanVleet.
This season felt to me like it was obviously all about Kawhi, and then it was about the emergence of Pascal Siakam, and everything else felt as though it sort of fell into the background. And what I'm saying is, when I was looking over the MVP odds that Hembo gave me before the series started, I didn't even find the name Fred VanVleet. It wasn't even listed on there, and all of a sudden he's emerged as one of their most important players.
And the guy I don't think we've talked about enough so far on the show is Marc Gasol. Because Marc Gasol, 20 points last night. Every time they switched, like this wasn't the case in prior series, every time they switched a smaller player on him, he went right to the rim, got help and kicked it out or scored. He wasn't able to do that against Tobias Harris or Milwaukee. It was a huge game for Marc last night.
And when that brings one then to Boogie Cousins. Does he start to play more? Do you need more from him, and can they get more from him going forward?
Well, you're just going to need more from everyone, but this is, I think when you see Marc Gasol be awesome like he was, I think that's where you see Kevin Durant. Because if you can go 5 small that can score and move, it makes it tougher to play a big player like Marc Gasol and for him to be dominant.
I will say Boogie's passing last night for not playing basketball as long as he has. His passing is next level type passing.
Yeah.
You just need guys to knock down shots.
Yeah, the point was made. Not only has he been out since April 14th, he basically hasn't played 16 out of the last 19 months at all. So it is whatever he gives them in this series feels as though it will be an enormous plus. We are looking forward to what should be a really interesting sports weekend, including Game 2 on Sunday night, and we hope you'll get up with us on Monday morning. Wall-to-wall NBA Finals. Will Kawhi and the Raptors take a 2-0 series lead? We'll have all the reaction and analysis. And as the series shifts west, do the Warriors need Kevin Durant to win this championship? Get up with us Monday morning, 80. Legal to have this much insight and analysis.
Tell me what the hell is new compared to last week.
Ty Lue dodged the bullet, baby. The Lakers are the Kardashians of the NBA.
Palm trees and mojitos.
The Hamptons are overrated.
Even Boogie knocking off Russ, still a good Boogie to have.
I'll probably just throw up right now. I think the MVP is going to be Aaron Donald.
I'm going to take Andrew Luck.
Is there a way that a non-quarterback in your mind could win the MVP?
You guys can fight about this all you want, and candidly, I find it delightful.
That's rude.
The commissioner of the NBA is here.
I do watch ESPN.
Thank you for doing that.
I will be going overseas, playing in the Australian Basketball League.
Elton John called. He wants to shoot.
Is that Laura Rutledge?
No, it's not. No. Who's the best player in the world?
27, 8-8 in his 16th season.
You're talking about LeBron James.
Come on, man.
DJ's working for LeBron.
Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, KD.
Where's LeBron James in that?
He ain't a part of this list right
to
now.
me, LeBron. DJ just walked off. I may walk off with him. It's a fun week here, and we're so glad you've chosen to start your week with us. Meanwhile, Women's College World Series rolls on tonight in Oklahoma City with 2 winners brackets, rivalry games at 7 and 9:30 Eastern. RJ's all fired up.
Let's go Arizona.
Taking on UCLA. Then it's Bedlam.
Let's go Arizona.
And Oklahoma State. You can always watch them on the ESPN app from absolutely anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, here was my favorite moment of the game last night. Cameras captured an interesting interaction between Drake and Steph Curry, where Drake appears to take something like he's taking a lock of Steph's hair. I don't know what he's doing there, but whatever it is he's doing, he then explained it by posting on Instagram, on his account there at Champagne Poppy, Steph Curry hair lint for sale on my eBay right now. Username Draymond shouldn't wear 23. So we got stuff going on. Speaking of Draymond, he was asked what happened between himself and Drake at the end of the game.
Just wanted you to talk a little bit about that post-game scuffle between you and Drake.
You got a question about basketball? It wasn't really a scuffle because I didn't hit him and he didn't hit me, or I didn't push him and he didn't push me. We talked. We barked a little bit, but I wouldn't necessarily consider that a scuffle.
All right, why did you laugh so loudly, Zach, when you heard him say, do you have a question about basketball?
Because I just feel these players have to sit up there and answer question after question. I can sympathize with him being like, really? We're gonna and then I did enjoy his transition into a very sophisticated discussion of what is and is not a scuffle. I thought he really
that
got
doesn't happen.
defend the question.
He went on a direct beeline towards Drake, though, by the way.
Let's defend the question for a moment here. It's the NBA Finals with the eyes of the
go over,
world
you
on
talk
you.
to Drake.
Drake is one of the most famous people. He's probably the most famous person in the room, including Steph Curry and the entire building.
Yes.
And you're going to have whatever, maybe not a scuffle, but you can have some kind of little direct moment with him there. You can't expect no one's going to ask you about it, right?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm only really thinking about this UCLA-Arizona softball game.
Yeah, well,
that's the only thing. I'm not worried about the Drake Draymond scuffle. I don't.
We were talking at the beginning of the week. Will there be a Drake-Draymond confrontation? We got it, Zach.
Game one. Game one. You know, I was going to say I'm kind of sick of the media coverage of Drake, but I flipped all the other way. This is Toronto. This is his time.
Great.
Let Drake live his life. I'm all right with Drake.
Incredible.
This is his moment. This is the city's moment. Let him go crazy.
I'm in complete agreement. It is the drama that makes all of it
RJ
interesting.
just gets annoyed.
Good luck, Coach Candrea. Good luck. Go beat those Bruins. We're Drake and.
Well, we know what RJ's paying attention to.
This is what I'm going to watch.
We will see Game 2 on Sunday. Thank you guys all for coming in here this morning. We will reconvene Monday morning, same time, same place, looking back at Game 2. But right now, live from Toronto, First Take is next.
Siakam has done it all tonight for Toronto. What a night for this young man. Pascal Siakam with a 32-point game in his first appearance in the NBA Finals.
So Pascal Siakam was ridiculously good and ridiculously efficient last night, which brings us to this question. Before last night, who was the last player to score 30 points and shoot 80% from the floor in a win in the NBA Finals? RJ.
I've got nothing. I got nothing. That is
MJ.
When in
I
doubt,
figured it was a long.
MJ is right.
Ah!
It's Michael Jordan
Of course you
who
got
did
nothing.
it in Game 2
Of course you got
of the 91 Finals against the
Himbo.
Lakers.
Good job. Good job, Jay Will.
Himbo.
Good job.
Thank
some
you.
of us play in the NBA Finals and some of us guess right in the NBA Finals.
Or
Good
some of
job,
us
Jay Will.
study.
Good job,
Hey,
Jay
you played in
Will.
NBA Finals. Congratulations.
Let's not get
The guy you have Bron, or you would never got a chip.
Okay.
Thank
Let's
God,
not
yes.
get the nasty started.
I'm saying it was factual.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Shane Battier.
If I may, let's jump into our
Still salty about it.
touchscreen here. Again, let's go, Jay Will. I want you to go to the touchscreen here.
Yeah,
I want you to do absolutely anything you would like. What are you going to show us?
Well, first off, the brilliance about the way that they recognize shooters. So on the court here, you need to focus on the two guys that can knock down shots, Steph and Clay, okay? But first off, look at the way Pascal Siakam just pointing to Danny Green. Hey, Danny Green, make sure you have him. He's traveling down the court. Now, these are the little plays that when they set you up where they're able to knock down threes. Steph just randomly going through here. Now, this is usually a three-point shot because both these guys are occupied. 1 and 2 are occupied with where Steph is going to go. But look at their attention to detail here. So both up. Both comes up. They both attack him here. Now you're going to see Steph from the slip, but Kawhi Leonard, so good. They did this so many times last night. The guy from the weak side came over and really did a good job of hindering the chance of this guy seeing the rim. And it ends up being a win because the play comes down. That's who you want to shoot the ball. He was 0 of 4 from the three-point line last night, Andre Iguodala. Next play comes up, once again in transition, finding guys, marking guys down. Once again, great defense by Pascal right there. Play comes again. These are the little things. Just look at the hustle by Fred VanVleet. Just pushing him to get over the screen, okay? Steph moves so well without the basketball, but Fred is extremely physical, aggressive, stays in the pocket of Steph, forcing them towards the screen. Now, the beautiful thing about the screen is Serge has to get up here in order to contest the shot. Now, Steph is still going to get somewhat of a look, but look at this contest here. I mean, look at that shot that he's taking from Serge, 7'3" wingspan, and you can't even see Fred VanVleet here because he's just breathing on his neck. That's how I feel every time RJ is around me. His breath just makes me feel like I'm going to miss shots. That's where Fred VanVleet is, and by the way, that's where he misses a shot. Those are the little plays that work. Yeah, look at the breath. You can feel the breath on the screen, can't you, with him?
Yeah.
Once again, as the plays coming down, finding shooters again. You see Clay here, but you see Pascal Siakam closing out here, finding him, forcing him to be a driver. Now look how many people here, Greeny. Serge, Pascal, Kawhi, Fred on the weak side. All these guys are just wide open. Standing there, watching. Everybody kind of watches Clay, and these are the possessions where they find a chance to win because only Clay's on the court can create his own dribble. Once again, off the screen, look at the attention to detail. One, sees him, chase, stops him from shooting, rotates over from the weak side. Again, good defense. Shot clock violation.
Yeah, it's good.
Their attention to detail and the way they tag shooters throughout the entire game, that kind of effort they need to sustain.
It sometimes feels like basketball is a sport where casual fans can't always see the greatness of defense. Last night it was easy to see. Last night was like watching the 2000 Ravens play defense. It was a great performance by the Raptors. Meanwhile, another thing that we were looking forward to seeing in this series finally did come to fruition at the end of Game 1. And that is when cameras caught an interesting interaction between Drake and Steph Curry. That happened during the game last night. It looked like Drake took some of Steph's hair. Not 100% clear what was going on, but then afterwards, he would explain it on Instagram, as Champagne Poppy posted, Steph Curry hair lint for sale on my eBay right now, username Draymond shouldn't wear 23. So he's trolling in a big way. Draymond, meanwhile, was asked what happened between him and Drake at the end of the game. Here was what he said.
Just wanted you to talk a little bit about that post-game scuffle between you and Drake.
You got a question about basketball? It wasn't really a scuffle because I didn't hit him and he didn't hit me, or I didn't push him and he didn't push me. We talked. We barked a little bit, but I wouldn't necessarily consider that a scuffle.
So, yes, we're going to talk about Drake for a minute here. It was not a scuffle.
No.
They exchanged some words, whatever it was, and they have a relationship. I mean, those two guys are friends, generally speaking. But what did you make of that last night and that storyline overall, how it plays out in Game 1?
Look, if Draymond is worried about Drake, that's just adding to the issues of the Warriors. And I don't think the Warriors have a lot of issue. I think they're down 1-0, and it's not, they weren't even favored in that game. But I want to see more fire from Draymond. And again, this is what I'm talking about. I can't believe I'm saying that. He is one of the most, intense players I've ever been around, I've ever seen. And for him to have something to say to Drake at the end of the game, when Pascal Siakam went 14 for 17, I think our priorities are in the wrong place.
Let me just very quickly ask you, you've been on the floor with Draymond Green in finals. What is he generally like out there in these games of this magnitude?
Well, I've been on the floor with both of them. Drake, right there. Drake and Draymond. And when I say the best way to shut up a super fan is to just beat their team down. Drake didn't have nearly as many antics the last few years when they were getting swept in the playoffs. That's the best way to do it.
In the meantime, Jay, you were there. Again, I should remind everyone, Jay Will was at the game last night. Draymond Green did have a triple-double, but he shot 2 for 9. He had six turnovers. What did you make of his performance last night?
I thought it was lackluster. It was funny. His passes just seemed like they were careless with the basketball. And all this talk that we've been saying before in the Portland series about, how the floor opens up when Kevin Durant is on the floor and Draymond Green, now we're seeing him go against a team that has the length and has the size and has the right game plan on how you defend him. Now, he has to make shots. He's going to have to be that third option for them if Kevin Durant doesn't come back. He's going to have to be. He's going to have to be the most consistent guy on the court.
You know what I was thinking of just now as you were talking was Magic Johnson saying on Monday night, the last thing the Warriors wanted was 9 days off. They were in such a rhythm. They were in such a flow. You cannot simulate that in practice. Do you think that the lack of flow we saw in their offense, and you just did a nice job of demonstrating some of the great D, but was there a little bit of rust in what we saw offensively last night?
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of rust, but you also want to give Toronto credit. That defense that those boys are playing, and it was very similar to when we watched them come back against Milwaukee and that defense that they were building a wall against Giannis. The difference here is that they're building a wall against shooters and they're forcing other guys to try and beat you. Normally when you're playing against the Warriors the last few years, there's a Kevin Durant on there, or you have more movement with a little bit better players when they had more depth on the 73-win team. Now you don't have that.
Your usual sparring partner, Seth Greenberg, has been texting me like crazy, singing the praises of Nick Nurse. And while everyone talks about Masai Ujiri, the big move he made to acquire Kawhi, he made that other big move last year. He fired the coach of the year and elevated Nick Nurse. And how much of this comes to coaching when we look at how well prepared they were defensively? All that stuff you just showed us.
I think Nick Nurse has done an incredible job, and I will give them even extra credit. Seeing it in person, Kawhi Leonard was laboring. He was laboring last night. He was hobbling up and down the floor. He had no lift on his jump shot. The fact that they won that game with the other pieces stepping up and their attention to detail defensively talks a lot about coaching.
But again, we're talking about game one. No, I'm saying I agree with you. But if he's still hobbling come game 3, come game 4, as this series progresses, I'm not expecting that from Siakam or the rest of the
group. That's one of the topics that we're going to get to. If this does become a long series, so much can change. based upon whether we get KD back, based upon whether Boogie works his way back and plays a lot more minutes, and obviously the health of Kawhi. Coming up, it was a golden opportunity wasted. We'll show you exactly how the Warriors squandered Game 1 and what they need to fix Sunday night in Game 2. Let's get up on ESPN.